Hey, Mayn.
Hey,
How's it going? Take a
I've been
seat.
good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome.
Having this conversation with you.
We're gonna have the conversation right
Yes.
here. Okay.
All right.
What is the
Thank you.
conversation gonna be about?
It's gonna be, I think, about my music, about my artistry, and why I do what I do.
Yeah. I love
What I
that
do, baby.
I get to do this with you, a convo with Mayn,
Yes,
because you have a strong message.
of course.
Do you ever feel like your message is misunderstood?
I think so, cause sometimes in ministry, I think people tend to think, I just want to be an artist, I just want to make money of this. While I think it's more of a diverse way to show people what love really is. There are different ways to show love, and this is one of them.
There's so much in there. We're gonna get to it.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna do some questions right
Cool.
here. I don't know which one it's
Okay.
gonna be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a surprise to both of us.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Let's go.
You
let's
ready?
Go, let's go.
Okay. Let's do this one.
Yeah.
My first question to you, Mayn.
Yeah.
What's your full name?
Do we have to say that?
Okay, no, that's not my first.
but Mayn is good. Mayn is good.
Mayn.
What's your full name?
Christy Grace.
Oh, Grace.
Yes,
beautiful.
Grace. I need
Nice.
lots of grace.
We
And
all-
it applies to this question.
We all need lots of grace.
Mayn,
Okay, cool.
why the title Sinner's Prayer?
When I wrote the songs for this EP, I was going through a lot, and at that time I was already ministering. I was some sort of a pastor, and I think if people would zoom in my moment at that time, they would think, how can a pastor or a leader go through these kind of things? But I think everybody goes through stuff,
Yeah,
and everybody has to deal with certain things to grow in their journey.
that's right.
And then you have those moments, those cornerstones, those turning points, where you pray that certain kind of prayer, that sinner's prayer, where you repent, where you give yourself to Christ again.
That's
And
good.
at that moment, I wrote all these songs. It was about like 3 years ago.
That's good. And that's real. That's really raw.
Yeah, it is real.
And I think it's refreshing.
Yeah,
It's refreshing to hear you talk about that.
yeah. So
So the sinner's prayer, if you're brought up in church, I think a lot of us think you pray that once.
Yeah,
You pray
once.
that when you come to Christ.
yeah,
But you're talking about praying that multiple times.
yeah.
I know what you mean, but can you just explain it?
Because your walk with Christ is not like it's not linear. It's going with waves. You're going through seasons.
Yeah.
Some things are gonna kick you to the floor. Some things they're gonna push you up the mountain. And I think you have to be built for all these seasons.
Yeah. How do you know you're built for that? I mean, if you're in the middle of it,
Yeah, when you're in the middle of
It's
it,
a lot.
yeah, you don't know. But afterwards, when you look back, you know, okay, God was putting me through. God was pushing me, or God
Yeah.
was, you know. So I think
Yeah,
that's
you're-
the reason why I call this EP Sinner's Prayer.
you're not alone in that either.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think for growth, it is necessary to
Yeah.
recognize those moments,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to be honest about them, but not to stay there.
Not to stay there.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
Sinner's prayer. Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Next one, let's go.
Let's go. How do you hope your music will impact your listeners or the industry as a whole?
I really hope that the industry as a whole understands that there are more ways to project music than just or worship or pop Christian songs. There's a wider spectrum,
Yeah.
or there's not just boom bap rap. There's Afro, there's trap, there's country, there's whatever, singer-songwriter music. So I hope in the industry people are gonna perceive it as something new, something refreshing. And for my listeners, I just hope that they feel what I felt at that moment and know that God is with them through whatever they're going through.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
How would you like to be described by the people that listen to your music?
Just as a regular guy, not as the artist, not as the pastor, just a regular guy, just like whoever's watching this. You go through stuff. I go through stuff, and yeah, I'm no different from you.
Yeah. But you're doing it.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. There you go.
By the way, she has a great show, Maasbach Radio, Christy Grace on Air, the dopest, the best emerging radio host, the best to ever do
It's
it.
too much credit. It's too much credit. Thank you. Thank you, mate. Okay. Threw me off there for a little bit. What are your goals as an artist in the coming year? Do you make like a bucket list or resolutions or goals?
I set goals, but when I'm not an ordinary artist, most artists are full-time artists. I see myself as a ministry guy, and music is something I do on the side. So I go with the agenda of this ministry, and when there are spaces, I try to do a gig, I try to shoot video clips, I try to go to the studio as much as possible. I set goals, but sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
You know the schedule.
Yeah.
It's hard to push your own agenda through, and I don't want it. I just wanna go with the flow.
Yeah. But still, you're going with the flow, but still you're trying to push the boundaries in that.
Yeah.
But there's a good balance.
There has to be a balance.
So you're talking about doing ministry and doing your music on the side.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered that your music is part of your ministry?
That's the whole answer. My music is part of the ministry. My music is not the ministry. We as a ministry as a whole, we have a goal, and that's to reach the largest amount of people in the quickest amount of time with the best equipments that we have to tell them about the love of Christ.
Yeah.
That's the ministry.
Yeah.
And music is just a part of it. Whether it can be music, it can be dance, it can be momentum, the musical theater.
You're doing all of those.
No, yeah, we're together in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's basically it. So music is just a part of it.
Yeah.
It's not everything.
So how would you define ministry to somebody who's looking in on the outside? Because it's all these things that you're using your talents for. You're saying the message is the love of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So
how is being so involved in ministry different from maybe somebody that visits church every now and then, that's there for Christmas?
Like going to a church, visiting a church, it's mostly about you receiving or making a shift in your relationship with Christ, and how to use that message in your daily life. But ministry is really being used by God at that moment in that particular time for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
That's ministry, and most of the time it's part of something bigger than you.
It's always something bigger than you. And maybe that's why it's overwhelming at times too.
Most of the time it's overwhelming. You know how it is. You've been longer in ministry than I am.
Have I? We've known each other for a long time.
How long?
20 years?
I think almost 20 years.
I think so. Let's go to the next question.
We ain't that old.
No, not at all.
Not at
Okay,
all.
next one, Mayn.
Cool.
I love this question.
Cool.
What inspired you to pursue music, and when did you start?
What inspired me, I felt, because we're always like, how do we get people to know Christ? How do we get people outside of the church, inside of the church? Everything we have is beautiful, but those things are easy to grasp for people that are inside the church. I want to get people outside in. So I decided, what does gets people attention? And it's music, it's gathering, it's just hanging out, just vibing and listening to music. And most of the time it's talking about fashion, music, and what's going on in society. When people want to hang out, when they want to go to a certain place, it's always because of a certain artist performing or doing something there.
Something's happening.
Something is
Yeah.
happening. And I felt like in the Christian scene, there aren't really artists that are standing for something bigger than they are and representing a whole group of people. Most artists, they stand for themselves. And yes, they stand for the love of Christ, but I believe that if you stand for a group of people that can resonate with you, that can level with you, it's way easier to get these people inside of the church. And I started about 4 or 5 years ago.
I think it's amazing what you've already done in it's just a few years.
Thank you.
But I think when I see your drive, you're so driven to not only stay inside the church and not only be outside the church, but get them in, get the outside in. And I think, I mean, look at us. We look so different, but our drive, I think that's where we connect.
Yes.
In doing that. I don't know. I know why I'm so driven about it, but what is your drive? Why do you keep doing that? There must have been setbacks. There must have been discouragement. You kept on going. Why is that?
Because it just breaks my heart to see people step back from church because they feel like it's boring. They feel like they can't connect. They feel like it's not for them. You know, I see a lot of young kids in church because most of the time their parents or their aunts or their grandparents bring them to church. I see a lot of older people in church because they feel like, okay, I've given already everything in my life, so let me get back to church. But I feel like the strongest people, the people with the best ideas, with the most willpower, with the biggest reach, are the young adults, are the people between 20 and 45 years old. When I see them outside, and so many of them they feel hopeless, they feel depressed, they feel a certain way. And I think, look at me, I'm just like you. And I let Christ in.
Yeah.
You can have the same.
Yeah, because it's not like you haven't been through anything. You know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So that's that drive.
Yeah.
I see what they're going through. I know what it is, and I know there's something better for them.
Yeah, it's like when you're in a desert dying from thirst and you find water, and you know there's so many people that are dying in the desert.
Exactly.
Would you not tell them about it?
I want to get them to the well.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's do it together, mate. Okay.
Definitely.
Ooh, what's your creative process like when writing or composing music?
It depends, but most of the time, I just hear a beat, or I hear a bass line, or an instrumental, and
That's a creative mind.
yeah,
I know what that feels like. You see it, you hear it.
You hear it,
Yeah.
and then it paints something in your mind. But I don't come up with words straight away. I like to mumble. I'll be like, okay, because sometimes in life it's not what you say, it's about how you say it. Because I know what I have to say. It's good. It's going to help you. But if I say it in a way that doesn't resonates with you, you're going to be like, oh.
Yeah.
So I try to think about, okay, the flow got to be like this. And then I start to mumble, and I'd be like, and then I just record it. And when I feel like, okay, this is the flow I want to be in or want to stay in, then I'm going to connect words and think about, okay, this is the message that I want to bring.
Yeah. Well, you know the message.
Yeah, I know the message.
This is how I'm going to package it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you ever stumble on things that kind of sound like things you've already done? Or is it always a new flow? Is it always something different?
Sometimes it can be, it can look like something I've already done, but then I try to erase it, and then I say to myself, new flow.
Start over.
Start over.
Yeah, yeah.
Do something else.
Yeah.
And then I move on.
Okay. I'll let you pick the next one.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Okay.
Let me see. Wow. How do you handle both positive and negative feedback of your work?
Because it happens, you
It
know.
happens.
more positive or more negative.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the negative sticks more.
Yeah.
There can be 9 people that say you did amazing, and one person that said I hated it,
Yeah.
and that'll stick. So you know you're in the public too. How do you handle that?
Uh, Positive feedback, I try to let it slide because I know the feedback. Sometimes it's hard. It can get to your head, but I know it's not for me. It's, so when somebody says something positive, I just receive it and I just move on. Negative feedback, I try to use it as fuel. Because when I remember I had a conversation. You know, my first performance here was Party.
I
was after-
remember. I was your backup singer
Oh yeah.
with your wife.
Yes. So I did Party, and I had a conversation with a lovely friend and brother, who I've been known for a very long time. But he was a bit negative. He couldn't see the bigger picture. He thought, why you're going to make this kind of music? Nobody has ever done that in church or ministry. And I was like,
That's the whole point. Yeah.
you get me? So when somebody, or I have people very close to me that didn't pay interest or were like, no, I don't feel it, I don't like it. And I was like, okay, cool, can be true. Then I just have to work harder and build my craft to make it more soothing, more appealing, better for you to digest it and accept it.
Is it just thick skin then, or is there a way that you can release? Because it must hurt sometimes.
It does hurt.
Where do you leave that?
I gotta be honest. There have been nights I've been crying on the floor like.
So
why am I
that does
doing this?
happen.
It does happen
Yeah.
more times than people think, but
Wow.
you have to have thick skin. I think it also helps how I've been brought up, what I've been going through since my early days. When you grow up, not that I'm a thug or something, but when you grow up in the streets, you encounter certain situations what makes you hard. And, you know, what the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it for
Come
good.
on.
So it gave me a thick
Yeah.
skin, and it
That's
helped me
good.
to move on.
Yeah. And I think when you're going to start something new that nobody's ever seen before,
Yeah,
you're going to run into that. So I guess that's a good sign.
yeah,
But I think you take the feedback when it's constructive.
yeah. Of course, I love it
Yeah.
when people have constructive criticism,
Yeah.
because that means they have been listening and really paying
Right.
attention to something I create from the heart.
That's a way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking back, Mayn, how do you perceive your evolution as an artist from your early works to your current creations? You were just talking about your first performance,
Yeah.
Party. If you look at Party now and you look at what you're doing after 4 or 5 years, how do you look back to that? Are you proud? Are you cringy?
The first performance Party feels a little bit cringe, but it keeps me humble, because
It does, yeah.
because then you know that's where you started. But there was another proud moment when that was for our youth manager's birthday, because actually for that B-day, they asked me to perform one song just with a Spotify playlist and then with one mic. But I was like, no, I just,
I remember this.
yeah. I thought to myself, I gotta lose myself in this music, this moment. You only got one moment. I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask my homies. I'm gonna ask the band. We're gonna do it live. I'm gonna do 5 songs instead of 1. I was
That's so you. I'll do 5 instead of 1.
yeah. So
I love it. I love it.
and that moment really shifted something
Wow.
in my thinking, because I knew from that moment I can do it, and it felt so wonderful to have everybody in that project. My friends who are in the band, my wife supporting me, my little bro who is way younger than me supporting me, having my back through everything, and seeing you, of course, always having these small talks with me, and everybody in the crowd saying afterwards, okay, this is something we really need, and we never knew we needed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think if you haven't gone through what you've gone through in your life, maybe it would be harder also to stay humble about it. And I think it all shaped you into this with this drive, this guy who just wants to use his talent and bring that message, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, but you make music as well. How do you keep yourself driven to to push yourself as a worship leader, as a songwriter, as a radio DJ? Do we need to go on?
No. Honestly, it's hard sometimes when you don't see it yourself. And then you need somebody to speak that into you, like you've done in my life and so many others. But I think that if you don't lose the drive, the focus on why you're doing it, you can always go back to that.
Yeah,
You can
that's true.
always go back to that and remind yourself why you're doing it, even if you don't see the result you want right away.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. What do you want people to receive from this project? What is the message? What is the goal?
I hope everyone who listens to my music and see me as the artist Mayn Maesby, I hope that you know that God is just with you every step of the way. Even though you go through hardships, even though when you stumble and make mistakes, know that God is just a breath away. You can pray that sinner's prayer. You can repent. You can move on. When you fall from the horse, get back up. And getting back up on that horse is scary because that horse is big and it's so strong and you're scared you're going to fall again. But you have to get back up. Otherwise, you're going to stay down.
Right.
So when you listen to this project, please know, be encouraged that we all go through situations, but God is there. He's gracious, and He got you.
Yeah.
God got you.
Yeah. And you know what? You're not alone. So if you need some help with that, and we all need it sometimes,
Yeah.
they can send you a DM.
Mayn Maesby on Instagram, Christy Grace on Instagram.
Yes. And let's help each other. Let's do
Yeah.
that together. You're not alone. You're
Yeah.
not alone.
We're not alone.
It's a team effort, and I'm thankful for you and the message you're putting out there in ways that I haven't seen done here before. So that's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you for having this conversation with me and being with me every step of the way.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing your heart.
Yeah. Thank you.